everybody. So today we are going to talk about how you can cultivate a healthy relationship with your body and with food. And this is something that I have struggled with for years, probably about 10 years in total. I struggled with this concept of how do I accept my body for what it is and accept that I have to eat food, because that's the hard part. A lot of people say, well, this is more difficult than dealing with an addiction, dealing with an alcoholic addiction or smoking cigarettes or drugs or whatever, because you don't need those things to survive, but you need food to survive. And that is very much true. It's very difficult to get past this point of where you feel like I'm just stuck. I feel like I hate having to eat or having to think about food, or maybe you're overly thinking about food. And your relationship with food and with your body just, quite frankly, is in a really horrible place. So we're going to talk about how do you get out of that. So first of all, if you're not familiar with intuitive eating, we're going to talk a lot about intuitive eating today. So I suggest getting out maybe something to write with and take some notes on this, because it is something that is very important that's going to help you get past this hurdle. So first of all, let's talk about what intuitive eating is. And intuitive eating is basically, being in tune with your body and mindfully eating. So think of what mindless eating would be. People always give the example of sitting on the couch and eating a bag of potato chips until, oops, the whole bag of chips is gone and I did not realize that. And I didn't even remember eating any of those chips. So intuitive eating is where you are eating without distraction. You're actually paying attention to your food. You're enjoying your food. You're savoring your food. You actually want to eat that food, and it's making you feel good, both physically and mentally, but also listening to things like your hunger and your fullness cues, and eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. Intuitive eating is also not feeling like you have to track every calorie or every macro. It is really being kind of fluid and flexible in your eating. So, making sure that you are eating when you're hungry, but we know that you want to eat within a certain framework. So at each meal, you need to be having a carbohydrate, a protein, a fat. And so what do you actually want to eat within those components? So instead of maybe having chicken, because you're just really not feeling chicken today, maybe you want to have something like a steak, or you want to have some grilled pork tenderloin or something else. You get the idea. You are able to choose based off of what you are feeling that day, and you're not eating because you feel like this is the way that I need to be eating. So also with intuitive eating, you're not dieting, okay? So you're not being the food police. You're not, feeling like you can't eat something, something's completely off limits, or you're always on this goal to lose weight. Intuitive eating is really not about losing weight. It's about fueling your body in a way that is healthy for your body, and like I said, makes you feel good both mentally and physically. And so if you lose weight in that process, that's fine, but not what we're going after here. And so I think that's a big component of today's message, is not dieting. There are tons of studies to actually show that the majority of diets, one, fail, but two, if you do diet, it is setting you up for disordered eating and having a negative relationship with your body and with food. And we live in a diet culture. So we live in this world where everybody's expected to look a certain way. And in the 90s, it was to be, really skinny. And now it's to have a little tiny waist with a big butt for females. And, every decade it changes, and it's really honestly exhausting. We cannot keep up with that. And there is absolutely no way that you can go from skinny from the 90s to now having these a tiny waist and a big butt. It just doesn't work that way. So really trying to put that out of your head as to oh, well, this is what I should look like versus what I actually look like because of genetics and, the way that I work out and things like that. Every athlete is going to differ in the way that their body shape is based off of what their activity is. So if you look at a gymnast, most gymnasts are short in stature, and they are also very muscular because they need that. They need that for that explosive power. Whereas a marathon runner is generally going to be longer legs, taller, and they're going to be more kind of like lanky, if you want to say that, because that is what works best for that sport. And so we need to take that into consideration as well. So what our genetics are doing for our body, and then also what our sport is and how that's going to influence our body, and not comparing ourselves to other people. You know, what we see on the internet or social media, what we think we should look like. So I have a couple tangible steps for you today for what I want you to do, or tips that you can do so that you can work past this struggle with your poor relationship with your body and with food, and how you can actually get out of it. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about are the 3 P's. So the 3 P's is where you are, hear me out, praising God, you are praying, and you are, what is my 3rd P here? Patience. Patience is a huge thing. So let me explain this. Praising God for what you have. Praising God for your body. Praising God that you have food to eat. Praising God that you are able to do things like you're able to run or lift weights or whatever your sport is. I want you to think of what are the things that you are actually really maybe good at, or things that you enjoy about your body, you know, those types of things. You know, like I have strong legs so that I can climb the stairs with a load of laundry. I don't know, it could be anything. Or, you know, I have strong arms and I can do more push-ups than my best friend can. Whatever the case is, you know, I want you to think of these things, and I want you to have a heart of gratitude and praise God for them. And I want you to actually write them out. Writing them out is far more important than you just thinking them up, because you will forget about them. So if you write them out and you put them on little sticky notes, or maybe on the background of your phone, somewhere where you're going to see them, that is going to be very helpful for you. The next one is prayer. So prayer is something that you can do at any point in the day where you're feeling, you know, very dark, lonely, you know, upset. Why don't I look this way? Or why can't I just eat normally? You know, whatever the case is, you know, pray to God. And then also, I would actually pray before you eat your meals. This is something that you can do where it's going to actually kind of slow you down a little bit, where you don't just dive into that meal. You're not even paying attention to it. You're not even thinking about it. You're not enjoying your food. It's actually making you have more of a posture where you are able to eat that food. You are able to enjoy that food. You're savoring it, and you're eating a little bit more slowly. So the next part, the 3rd P, is patience. And I throw that in there because all this takes time. For you to work through having a poor relationship with your body or with food, it takes time, and it takes patience and doing things over and over again. And even when you feel like this is totally not working, I am just screwing this up, nothing is helping, it actually is, but it's messy. It's a messy progress. So imperfect progress is better than no progress at all, and we want to celebrate that. So the 3 Ps, remember that: prayer, patience, and praise. Okay, so the next one is working through the hunger fullness scale. So if you're not familiar with this, imagine you have a scale of 1 through 10, and 1 would be that you are not hungry at all. I'm sorry, I'm telling you the opposite. 1 is where you are starving. So 1 is where you could eat your arm off. You are so hungry, you're hangry, you have a headache, your stomach is rumbling, you feel like your stomach is eating itself. 5 would be where you are just satisfied, and that's where you could eat, but you probably don't need to make it to your next meal. Or maybe you, you know, you just ate and you're like, I feel, you know, fine. I don't really need to eat anymore. That would be a 5. 10 would be where you are overly full and you feel like, I am so full I could puke right now, or I need to unbutton my pants. I just don't feel good. And so there's all the numbers that are in between. So what I would recommend people to do is to start eating when you're at a 3 or a 4. So that's when you are starting to feel the first signs of hunger. So maybe you're starting to feel a little low on energy. Maybe you are getting a slight headache, or you're getting a rumbling in your stomach, or you're getting kind of like a taste for food where like, okay, I need to eat something. That's your first sign of hunger. It's different for everybody. So take notice of what that is. And that's when you want to go ahead and start eating. I encourage you to stop eating somewhere between a 5, 6, or a 7. So a 7 would be a comfortable fullness. You kind of have that comfortable fullness in your belly, like, oh, that was a good, satisfying meal. I feel pretty good after that. So somewhere in that 5, 6, 7 range is where I would recommend stopping your meal. And if you get to, let's say, halfway through your meal and you're like, I'm still really hungry, go ahead and keep eating. But you may get halfway through your meal and feel like, I'm actually really not hungry anymore. That is fine. If you feel satisfied, then you could just save it for later. So that is step number 2, is the hunger fullness scale. Step number 3 is for you to actually enjoy your food. So what I want you to do, there's an activity that I want you to do. You don't have to do it right now, but if you have food with you and you want to do it, go for it. So what you're going to do is that you would do this without distraction, and you're going to take a piece of food. It doesn't matter what that food is. It could be something that you really like that you wouldn't normally have, like maybe it's chocolate, maybe that's off limits for you, or it could just be your lunch. It's just, whatever you have, that's fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your food, and you're going to examine your food. You're going to look at it and, notice the texture, notice the color of your food. What does it look like to you? Does it look good? Does it look unappealing? Whatever the case is. Next, you're going to smell your food. So just bring it up to your nose. What does it smell like? Does it smell sweet? Does it smell salty? Does it smell good? Does it smell sour? Maybe it smells gross. I don't know. Whatever the case is, notice what the smell is, and then you're going to take a bite of it. What does it feel like when you take a bite of that food? Does it crunch? Is it soft? Is it mushy? Whatever the case is, you're going to take notice of whatever it feels like when you bite into it. Now you're going to take notice of what it feels like when you chew the food. Does it release, saliva? Do you got to get that like sour pucker in the back of your mouth? Does it taste really sweet to you? Is it delicious? Maybe it's gross and it's not something that you want to continue eating. Whatever the case is, you're going to take notice of the taste. Now you're going to swallow the food. What does that feel like when you swallow the food? If it's something warm, you can usually feel it going down your esophagus. Is it, something crunchy and it's hurting? Whatever the case is. Now, after that, you're just going to kind of think about that food and think of the experience of that food. And was it a good experience? Was it pleasurable? Or was it something that was not so good? And this is something that I would suggest that you actually continue to do with all of your meals and snacks, and try to eat without distraction as much as possible, which I understand is completely boring, but I guarantee you will actually get more satisfaction out of your food than if you are eating with distraction. And I have noticed this myself plenty of times. If I'm doing something like looking at my phone, or talking to somebody, or I'm looking at a book or a magazine or my computer or whatever, I am distracted and I actually don't even get the flavor out of my food. And then I go back and take a bite and I'm like, I don't even remember those past 5 bites or however much it was. I promise you will get more satisfaction out of your food if you wind up eating without distraction, again, as much as humanly possible, and paying attention to your food. So research actually says that you can get satisfaction out of food out of the first 3 bites. So that means if you have a craving for something, your first 3 bites are where you're going to get the most satisfaction out of that food. So I would definitely recommend not distracting yourself in the first 3 bites. So I encourage you to take these 3 steps. Like I said, the 3 P's, which is praise, prayer, and patience. Number 2 would be to do the hunger fullness scale. And number 3 would be to really sit with your food, enjoy your food, and eat without distraction, and go through that checklist that I numbered out for you. So with these things, it's going to help you to get a little bit more into the intuitive eating side of things. And this is something that I really work with all my clients on, is intuitive eating, combining that with the science of sports nutrition, because you really need both. So if this is something that you are struggling, I want to invite you to my program, which is called the Sustainable Sports Nutrition Academy. This is an online course where you work through it at your own pace, but I teach you basically all the steps that you need to know from A to Z in terms of sports nutrition, but then also working through some of that intuitive eating piece of, how to better your relationship with food and with your body, but also at the same time knowing how to fuel your body for your sport. So it's a very comprehensive program. And I am always available, for one-on-one sessions if that's something that you decide that you feel like you need help with during during that course. But you have lifetime access to that course. So if you just head on over to my website and click on the nutrition coaching link at the top, you'll see the Sustainable Sports Nutrition Academy will drop down. I will also drop the link below in this video, but I invite you to check out that course. You can actually test out that course for a single dollar. That is how much confidence I have that you will like this course and it will be beneficial to you. So please, if you got something out of this video today, please like it, please share it, and please check out the Sustainable Sports Nutrition Academy. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your day.